There is no question. There is MJ, and then there's LeBron. More basketball. Be happy with that.
I'm glad he was cooking Thunder Dan and Jeff Hornacek. Killed that. I done seen you do a lot of segments, man, and I tell you what, thing, this got to be at the top of the list.
The GOAT debate has ignited once again. This time, it's more personal, more intense, and brutally unfiltered. Stephen A. Smith has had enough of the narratives, and Kendrick Perkins is not backing down. This is not just another barbershop argument. This is a televised war of words, where legacy is on the line and emotions are running high. This isn't just about who had more points or more assists. This is about the heart of the game. This is about culture, legacy, dominance, and greatness that transcends eras. Michael Jordan versus LeBron James is not just a comparison of careers. It is a battle of basketball philosophies, of mentalities, of gods versus mortals. In this video, we are diving deep into the explosive exchange between Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins. We're talking about fire on the set, truth being thrown like punches, and bold claims that shook fans to their core. Every quote we break down will peel back another layer of this iconic debate. So if you are tired of the sugar-coated comparisons and want raw, unfiltered truth about who the real king of basketball is, then buckle up. And before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to NBA Showdown, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a moment when the legends clash. Now let's dive into this head first, because what you're about to hear will shake the very foundations of the GOAT conversation. Stephen A. Smith does not pull punches, especially when it comes to the truth. When he called out Kendrick Perkins for being a man who forces people to believe things that simply are not true, it was not just a personal jab. It was a challenge to the very foundation of the argument in favor of LeBron James being the GOAT. Stephen A. is no stranger to heated debates, but this one came with a deeper layer of conviction. He recognized the tactics. He saw the way Perkins delivers his takes with conviction, with confidence, almost daring the public to disagree. But Stephen wasn't having it. He basically drew a line in the sand and said, this is where the delusion ends. You see, when you try to manufacture belief, when you lean into charisma instead of cold hard facts, you distort reality. Kendrick Perkins might be persuasive, but persuasion is not the same as proof. Stephen A. is telling the world that no matter how loud someone is, no matter how passionately they speak, the truth does not change. And the truth is that LeBron James, for all his greatness, is not above scrutiny. He is not above historical context. You can shout GOAT all you want, but if the numbers, the impact, and the legacy do not align with the claim, then it remains just that, a claim. Stephen is making it clear that this debate will not be hijacked by volume or charisma. It must be grounded in respect for the game, for the legends who laid the path, and for the facts that cannot be twisted.
He is a truculent individual to do with attitude because he don't want to hear what other people gotta say. Think he's gonna scare you into believing what he believes. It ain't working with me today.
Despite his brutal takedown of Perkins' argument style, Stephen A. Smith does not let his respect for LeBron James go unnoticed. He openly acknowledges that LeBron's game is extraordinary and that his talent is undeniable. He gives credit where it's due, recognizing LeBron as one of the greatest to ever step foot on the hardwood. But what makes this moment powerful is the restraint and clarity with which Stephen distinguishes greatness from supremacy. There's a difference between being one of the greatest and being the greatest. Stephen is not dismissing LeBron's achievements. He is emphasizing that understanding LeBron's brilliance does not automatically elevate him above Michael Jordan. This is where so many people get lost. They think acknowledging LeBron's excellence means he has surpassed everyone who came before him. But Stephen sets the record straight. You can be legendary and still be second. You can have an all-time resume and still not reach the throne that Jordan built. The emotional weight of this moment is immense, because in a world desperate to crown new kings, Stephen is reminding everyone that legacy is earned through an unrepeatable combination of dominance, mentality, and aura. LeBron has longevity, LeBron has stats, but he does not have that unmatched streak of killer instinct that defined Jordan. Stephen respects LeBron, but that respect is not blind. It does not eclipse what came before. It simply adds more depth to the debate and further solidifies the conclusion that there is MJ and then there is everybody else.
The fact of the matter is this: LeBron James was a pass-first dude. We understand that his game, all-around talents are not to be questioned. One of the greatest.
Then came the hammer, when Stephen A. Smith laid it down and said that after everything we have seen and everything we have measured, there is Michael Jordan and then there is LeBron James. It was not an opinion. It was a statement of hierarchy. It was a final verdict. Stephen did not tiptoe around the issue. He brought receipts. He reminded everyone that Jordan's era was a jungle of ruthless competition, that his rise to the top was filled with battles that would break most athletes. He did not dodge the chaos. He thrived in it. The adversity Jordan faced was not circumstantial. It was institutional. The league was more physical, cynical, more punishing, and less forgiving. Yet Jordan did not just survive it, he conquered it. His accomplishments are not just stats. They are milestones that altered the game forever. 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, no Game 7s in the finals, and the manner in which he did it with elegance, precision, and killer instinct turned basketball into art. Stephen A. paints that picture perfectly. He's not talking about highlight reels. He's talking about era-defining dominance. He is saying what so many are afraid to admit, that LeBron may have the numbers, but he doesn't have the crown. Not the crown that comes from striking fear into the hearts of your opponents. Not the crown that turns rivals into witnesses. That crown belongs to Michael Jordan. Always has. Always will.
When you look at what Michael Jordan has accomplished, and you saw the times that he was playing in, and what he pulled off despite the adverse circumstances he was facing, there is no question. There is no question. There is MJ, and then there's LeBron.
When Kendrick Perkins responded to Stephen A. Smith's assertion that LeBron James is a pass-first player, he did not refute it. He accepted it. But what he tried to do instead was spin it into some kind of optimistic prophecy, saying LeBron will eventually break that stigma. That's not just wishful thinking, that's a desperate rewrite of reality. Because the truth is, LeBron has had over 2 decades to shake off that label. If he hasn't broken it by now, he never will. Perkins tried to make it sound like being pass-first is somehow holding LeBron back in the GOAT discussion. But the reality is, that style is part of his identity. It's who he is. LeBron's greatness lies in his versatility, in his ability to elevate his teammates, but in the conversation of alpha dominance, that trait has always held him back. Michael Jordan was never trying to be everyone's friend on the court. He wasn't trying to delegate responsibility or make sure everyone got a touch. Jordan saw the rim and he attacked. He was a finisher, a closer, a cold-blooded executioner. There was no stigma to break because there was no hesitancy in his game. What Perkins fails to grasp is that GOAT status is not about correcting your perception over time. It's about being undeniable from the start. Jordan did not need decades to prove who he was. From the moment he stepped on the court, the world knew it. LeBron's game is majestic in its own right, but greatness is not about hoping people will see you differently. It's about making them feel it every time you touch the ball. That's what separates Michael Jordan. You didn't have to wait for him to break any narratives. He shattered expectations every time he played.
You said he's a pass-first player. Well, he sure about to break the record.
Yes.
He sure about to break the record.
That's right. He's
for
phenomenal.
Pass-first player.
He's phenomenal.
Stephen A. Smith's next response cut to the core of the entire GOAT discussion. He pointed out what so many LeBron supporters tend to overlook in their rush to anoint him as the greatest. He said clearly that LeBron will never match Michael Jordan's championship count. He will never equal his number of league MVPs. These are not trivial details. These are defining pillars of a legacy. And no matter how many more seasons LeBron plays, that gap will not be closed. Stephen's message was simple. You cannot wear the crown without the credentials. You cannot bypass the throne if you haven't passed the trials. Michael Jordan's 6 championships are not just rings. They are testaments to dominance, consistency, and an unrelenting desire to win. Jordan did not hop from team to team to chase a title. He stayed, he built, and he conquered 6 times without a single finals loss. LeBron, for all his greatness, cannot erase the moments where he fell short on the biggest stage. He cannot erase the finals losses, the missed opportunities, the years where he had the best roster and still walked away empty-handed. And when it comes to MVPs, Jordan dominated his era to such a degree that the league had to invent new standards just to keep it interesting. He was not just better, he was beyond. Stephen A. is saying that if the GOAT debate is to be respected, it must be grounded in facts, in accolades, in irrefutable achievements. And when you line up the numbers side by side, Jordan still reigns supreme. This isn't about nostalgia. This is about truth. And the truth is that LeBron's resume, as glittering as it may be, still doesn't hold a candle to the gold standard that is Michael Jordan.
He ain't break Michael Jordan's record for championships.
Yeah.
He ain't got the championships. He ain't got the league MVPs.
Kendrick Perkins' next argument attempted to shift the goalposts entirely. In frustration, he claimed that basketball is not an individual sport. He said it is a team game and accused Stephen A. Smith of failing to understand that. This is a classic deflection, and Stephen A. did not take the bait. Perkins was trying to mask LeBron's shortcomings by leaning into the collectivism of basketball. But greatness, true GOAT-level greatness, always rises above the system. Michael Jordan did not need a super team to cement his legacy. He elevated everyone around him by sheer will and leadership. He did not rely on trades, on assembling the Avengers. He trusted his grind, trusted his system, and still came out victorious. Perkins is right that basketball is a team sport, but GOAT conversations are not. They are about who stands out, who rises when the lights are brightest, who carries the weight of expectation and turns it into legend. Jordan did not blame teammates. He turned them into champions. He demanded excellence and delivered it himself. LeBron has had help at every stage, from Wade and Bosh in Miami, to Kyrie and Love in Cleveland, to Davis in Los Angeles, and yet his record still still does not eclipse the man who took less and did more. Perkins wants us to pretend that greatness can be outsourced, that if your team wins, you win. But GOATs are judged by how they lead, not how they blend in. Jordan led with force, precision, and unrelenting hunger. He did not wait for the team to rise to the occasion. He dragged them there himself. That is what Stephen A. understands, and Perkins does not. You can dress it up any way you like, but at the end of the day, greatness is individual, and no one did it like Michael Jordan.
He don't have any of that.
It's not an individual sport.
All right. Well, we talking individuals, though. But we're talking individuals right now.
Yeah.
When Stephen A. Smith brought up Larry Bird's iconic comment about Michael Jordan being God in gym shorts, it wasn't just a poetic exaggeration or a nostalgic tribute. It was an affirmation from one of the most respected basketball minds in history. Larry Bird was no casual observer. He was a competitor. He saw Michael Jordan firsthand. He felt the pressure of playing against him. And for someone like Bird to say something so divine about a player he once had to face on the court speaks volumes about Jordan's unparalleled aura. Stephen A. knew exactly what he was doing when he mentioned that. He was telling Kendrick Perkins that this level of reverence is not manufactured, it is earned. And Jordan earned it every night he stepped on the court. The difference between Jordan and LeBron is not just in numbers or highlights, it's in how they were feared. It's in how legends spoke about them. No one has ever called LeBron God in gym shorts. People admire LeBron. They respect his game, but they don't revere him the way they did Jordan. Jordan inspired awe. He was the mythical figure that players both feared and idolized. When Larry Bird uses spiritual terminology to describe an opponent, you better believe that opponent was not just great, he was transcendent. Perkins tried to play down that kind of reverence, but Stephen A. drove the point home. It's not just about stats or rings. It's about the mythos. It's about the way Jordan made the impossible seem routine. That is what makes him the god of basketball. You can't manufacture that kind of respect. You can't argue your way into legend. You live it. You earn it. And Jordan did that every single time he laced up his sneakers.
Michael Jeffrey Jordan was called God in gym shorts. I'm going to repeat that. God in gym shorts by Larry Bird. Let's remember that.
Stephen A. Smith didn't just stop at quotes from legends. He took it to the history books. He referenced June 5th, 1991, the night Michael Jordan performed one of the most iconic moves in the history of the game, the mid-air hand switch layup against the Lakers in the NBA Finals. This was not just a highlight. It was a declaration. It was a moment that encapsulated creativity, dominance, and athletic grace in a single act. And Stephen A. made it clear that Jordan wasn't just performing. He was inventing. He wasn't following a playbook. He was writing it. That move didn't just go viral in the pre-internet age, it got carved into basketball's Mount Rushmore. Perkins may point to LeBron's longevity or his physical gifts, but moments like that remind everyone why Jordan was in a league of his own. You don't see LeBron executing ballet-like improvisations midair in the middle of an NBA Finals game. You see power, you see strategy, but you don't see transcendence. Jordan had a way of doing things no one else even thought of. He didn't just win games, he altered the very nature of how basketball could be played. And that's what Stephen A. was reminding everyone. The hand switch wasn't about flash, it was about evolution. It was about redefining what was possible in the game. There are imitators, as Steven said, and then there are originators. Jordan originated the mystique. He originated the narrative of superhuman excellence. You cannot teach that. You cannot replicate that. It was God-level execution in real time, and it has never been matched. That's not just basketball. That's divinity in motion.
Lord have mercy. Dickie V, did you hear me talking to your baby? I mean, he's a PTP. Imitators, and then there are originators. That brother is an originator right there. You saw it before.
Stephen A. Smith followed up with a powerful personal revelation, telling the world that the hand switch layup remains one of his top 5 favorite basketball moments of all time. And then he declared it open. Michael Jordan is the god of basketball. There was no debate, no hesitation, just raw, unequivocal truth. And that declaration was not just from a journalist or an analyst. It was from a man who has watched every era, analyzed every great, and never once gave into the media's obsession with recency bias. For Stephen A. and for millions around the world, that title belongs to one man and one man only. Jordan did not become the god of basketball through a marketing campaign. He didn't brand himself into greatness. He earned it by dominating his competition, breaking records, and creating moments so unforgettable they became stitched into the fabric of sports history. Kendrick Perkins, for all his energy and fire he takes, cannot change that truth. This is not a popularity contest. It is a legacy war, and Jordan's legacy has stood untouched for decades. LeBron's fans want to rewrite the rules so badly that they're willing to ignore the universal consensus. But when someone like Stephen A. puts his reputation behind a statement like that, you stop and listen. You reflect. Because if Michael Jordan was just another great player, he would not still be worshipped this way. Stephen's words echoed the thoughts of generations who watched Jordan play and saw a force of nature. He was not just a man in uniform. He was the standard, the blueprint, the divine presence on the hardwood. And no matter how much the conversation evolves, that truth remains. You can argue over stats, but you cannot argue over presence. Jordan had a presence that made grown men tremble. He had an aura that made you believe in the impossible. That is what Stephen A. was celebrating, and that is why Jordan still wears the crown.
Those are my top 5 moments of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You heard me?
When Kendrick Perkins finally acknowledged Stephen A. Smith's argument, stating that he killed it and nailed it, he wasn't just conceding a debate, he was validating everything Stephen A. had built piece by piece. Perkins, for all his bold and at times reckless takes, had no choice but to fold under the weight of undeniable truth. He tried to push the LeBron GOAT narrative. He tried to reframe the conversation in ways that favored versatility, longevity, and statistical consistency. But when confronted with the aura of Jordan, with the divine impact that Michael had on and off the court, even he had to give Stephen A. his flowers. It was not a matter of opinion anymore. It was a matter of reality. Perkins, despite his pride and position, couldn't counter what Stephen A. brought to the table. That moment revealed something deeper. Even the staunchest LeBron defenders know, deep down, that Jordan's legacy is impenetrable. There comes a point where words are not enough. There comes a point where you have to recognize greatness in its purest form, and that's what Perkins did. He admitted it. He bowed to the argument. He acknowledged the gospel that Stephen A. had been preaching all along. That acknowledgement wasn't weakness. It was clarity. It was the realization that Jordan's greatness is not something you out-argue. It's something you stand in awe of. Stephen A. didn't just win the debate. He reminded the world that facts, history, and legacy still matter. In that moment, Kendrick wasn't just agreeing with Stephen. He was agreeing with every player, every fan, and every analyst who saw Jordan for what he truly was, the absolute pinnacle of basketball, the final word, the unmovable, undeniable, unchallenged god of the sport.
Killed that. I done seen you do a lot of segments, man, and I tell you what, this gotta be at the top of the list because I've ever witnessed.
Hey, well, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm just looking at some of these moments.
Stephen A. took it one step further by diving into Jordan's psychological warfare. He painted a vivid picture of Michael Jordan as a predator of the highest order, someone who would dissect an opponent's mind, identify their deepest irritations, and then exploit those vulnerabilities before dropping 40 or 50 points in their face. That's not just elite talent. That is mental mastery. That is a player who didn't just beat you physically. He destroyed you emotionally. This is the dimension that no one talks about when they place LeBron in the GOAT conversation. LeBron can dominate. He can take over a game. But has he ever instilled pure dread in the heart of his opponents? Has he ever made another Hall of Famer feel psychologically undone? Jordan did that night after night. He wasn't just playing basketball. He was executing psychological art. When Stephen A. said this, he was pulling back the curtain on what truly separated Jordan. The stats don't capture it. The highlight reels don't explain it. This was about dominance of the soul. Jordan didn't just want to win. He wanted to make you question your worth. He wanted you to remember him forever, not as a player you lost to, but as the one who shattered you. LeBron is respected, but Jordan was feared. Stephen A. reminded Perkins and the entire basketball world that the mental element is just as important as the physical. You can be great, but if your opponent doesn't tremble when you walk on the court, you are not a god. Jordan made people tremble. He was the storm. He was the terror. He was the force that made elite athletes shrink, and that's why he stands alone.
Person, or was the kind of person that would go to an opponent, what agitated him most, just so he could get max effort from them. Then he'd go out and drop 40 or 50 on them.
Stephen A. Smith's final dagger in this emotional war was profound. He claimed that what made Michael Jordan different was not just that he defeated you, but that he demoralized you. That statement is layered. It speaks to a legacy that transcends victory. Anybody can win a game, but to take your opponent's soul, to strip them of hope, confidence, and belief in real time, that is supernatural. That is divine. And only Jordan did it on such a consistent basis. This is the essence of what separates the good from the legendary. It is not the box score. It is the psychological scars left on opponents. Jordan didn't play basketball to win. He played to dominate. He played to rewrite your understanding of excellence. LeBron is a physical marvel. No one questions his work ethic, his IQ, or his resume, but he has never been the destroyer of worlds that Jordan was. He has never walked into a playoff series and convinced the other team that defeat was inevitable before the ball was even tipped. Jordan did that with his eyes, with his posture, with his mere presence. And that's what Stephen A. was hammering home. The demoralization is not just a competitive tactic. It is a reflection of absolute superiority. The way MJ moved, the way he spoke, the way he stared through you, it was spiritual. You weren't playing against a man. You were playing against inevitability, against destiny, against a basketball deity. That is the level LeBron has never touched, and that is why this conversation is not even close.
Demoralize, not just defeat you, is what stands out in my mind to this day.
After 12 explosive sections of quotes, logic, and lived history, the verdict is clear. Michael Jordan is not just the greatest of all time. He is the god of basketball. He is the originator, the innovator, the myth, the legend. He is the player other legends worship, the player who made greatness feel small, the one whose very name strikes awe across generations. LeBron James is incredible. He is a Mount Rushmore player. But when you weigh legacy, dominance, fear, reverence, and spiritual impact, the answer is obvious. Michael Jordan exists on a different plane. Stephen A. Smith stood firm in that truth. He didn't waver. He didn't sugarcoat it. He told the world exactly what they needed to hear. And even Kendrick Perkins had to step back and nod in agreement. If you've ever questioned who the greatest truly is, let this be the final word. Let this be the scripture carved into the court. Jordan didn't just win. He ruled. He didn't just lead. He inspired. And he didn't just play basketball. He became it.